This lesson is about exploring your kinespheric space. So I want you to start in standing, taking a breath, and just look around you. Look around the walls in the room, the ceiling, the floor. And just begin to take your arms out from your body and feel the space around you. That's arm widths up and down and to the sides, all the way down to the floor. And as you take your arms around, also with your eyes, following one or both arms, and just knowing wherever you are, this is your space. And what does it feel like now? And we'll come back to this. Excellent. And then go ahead and lie down, please. And as you lie there, start with your eyes open and just notice how you sense the room, the space in front of you, space to your right and to your left, above and below you. And again, take your arms into the space that it can reach into, above, to your sides. And then you can even move your legs in the space around you. All that space, three-dimensionally. Sometimes we forget and we just think of our body as this flat front and back with little awareness of what's to our sides. And then just rest on your backs again. And gently rest the palms of your hands over your eyes, just so that your eyes can fully relax. And with your palms over your eyes, can you feel and sense your eyeballs, the roundness of your eyeballs? Your right eyeball resting in the eye socket, a fully round ball inside your head, the left eyeball. And then expand your awareness to the roundness of your head, your cranium. And just explore this with your hands, the top, the side, the front, the back. And then just let your hands down and lie there being aware of this sense of roundness in your skull. And roll your head a little bit right and left. Not a big range of motion, not a stretch, but just to feel your head like a big melon, just lolling over to the right and to the left. And then rest in the middle. And then I want you to imagine that you're looking up at the face of a clock. A round clock with all the numbers from 12 and 1, all the way around back to 12 again. And imagine for a moment that this clock dial is actually resting on your face, maybe over your nose. And the 12 o'clock is near your forehead, and 6 o'clock is near your chin. And let's put 3 o'clock over by the left cheek, and 9 o'clock over by the right cheek. And just a couple times, just take your eyes and look from 6 to 12. up and down. And notice with your eyes as they track up and down, do they go directly through the center? Do they waver a little bit? Is it smooth and even? Do you tighten your breath in any part of the motion? And then pause in the middle. If you just rest your eyes, where do they gaze? Do they gaze right in the middle of the clock? Do they gaze a little downward or upward? Maybe they go a little rightward or leftward. You usually have one dominant eye, so that you may become aware of that during this lesson. And then a few times, just gently and softly, trace the line between 3 and 9 o'clock. With your eyes closed. You can open your eyes, but I think the lesson is better with your eyes closed. So just trace the line, and again, feel the quality of the eyeballs rolling in the sockets. There might be places where they feel like they roll smoothly. They might feel like there's kind of a tension in the eyeballs. Places where they kind of get stuck and don't glide as smoothly. That's okay. Just notice. It's normal. You're okay. And then again, rest. And just see where your natural gaze takes you in that clock. Does it naturally just go right to the center? Or do you drift towards one of the quadrants? Maybe the quadrant between 12 and 3 or 3 and 6. Maybe to the other side between 6 and 9 or 9 and 12. And then just go around in a circle. Go clockwise, starting at 12, around. I think we said 3 was to the left. And just let your eyes imagine that they're looking at each number on the clock as you go slowly around. Sometimes it's easy if you actually say to yourself each of the 12 numbers so you don't speed through them. Again, noticing the quality of how the eyeballs are rolling in the sockets. Are there places where your gaze flattens out? Maybe instead of curving through 4, 5, and 6, it gets a little flat. And then go counterclockwise. And can you let your head follow? So there's just a little bit of movement in your head. As your eyes go around, your nose is almost making a mini circle on the inside of the clock. Just soft and gentle. No effort, no stretching or range of motion. Jaw and mouth soft, breathing easy. And then just rest for a moment. So we often think of certain planes of motion. Physically, we tend to pay more attention to the front of ourselves than the back of ourselves. Some people pay more attention to the top half of their bodies than the bottom half of their bodies. And occasionally you can become aware of your dominant side, so you may pay more attention to your right side than your left side. I think this lesson will give you a nice chance to even that out. Sense yourself and the space around you more fully, more wholly. I want you now to imagine that clock dial, that face of the clock, sinking into your skull. So it's going to divide the front half from the back half of your skull. Inside. So 12 o'clock is going to be at the top of your head, on the inside of your skull. 6 o'clock is going to be down, sort of in front of your throat, below your chin. 3 o'clock will be closer to your left ear, and 9 o'clock closer to your right ear. So as if you could actually visually trace around that circle inside your skull. Begin to take your eyes. Let's just start with the upper left quadrant from 12 to 3 and back to 12, like you're smoothing out the inside of your cranium with your eyes, deep inside. And then you can grow that from 3 to 6. Get that lower left quadrant. Smoothing it out. Crossing over to the right side from 6 to 9. Back and forth. Just sweeping across each of the numbers. 6, 7, 8, 9, 8, 7, 6. And next time you come back up to 9, sweep back and forth between 9 and 12, inside your skull. And then begin to go around the circle with your eyes, just tracing. And for some of you, you may really have a visual sense of moving your eyes, and for some of you it may just be in your imagination. It may be too complicated to imagine seeing in the center of your skull. So just relax into it. Let it be what it is. Round and around the inside. And if there were a movement with your head, how would your head follow this now? It might not be quite the same circle that your nose was making before when the clock was in front of you, because now it's inside of you. So is there a subtle influence of how you make that circle with your eyes and feel it into your head and maybe into your upper neck, or just imagine it in reverse directions? And then rest. As you rest your eyes now, just notice where their resting point is. Is it easy to just let them let go and gaze in whatever direction is natural, or is there too much attention to really find yourself in your own natural state of rest? We'll be spending a while, the entire lesson, on our back. So if at any point you just need to roll your head a little from side to side, you might want to bend your knees up and rock your knees a little bit from side to side. Just give your body a little bit of movement. You could also at any point rest on your side. So just know, as with any of these lessons, if your body starts getting fatigued and speaking up into discomfort, that creates a kind of static which interferes with some of the ability of the nervous system to learn and really respond to the new experience. So now, if your knees are bent, go ahead and bring them long if you're able to comfortably, and place your arms straight out from your sides. And let's expand the clock so that 12 o'clock is still at the top of the head, but 6 o'clock is at the soles of your feet, 3 o'clock is at the tips of the fingers on the left, and 9 o'clock on the right fingers. And so now begin tracing that clock through the center of you. So it'll go from the top of your head around through your left arm, out between your fingertips and your toes. So it's going around, but you're also imagining where's that center point on the clock dial in your body. Is it near your belly button? Maybe it's a little lower in your pelvis. Somehow it's bisecting the front half and the back half. We call this the frontal plane. Tracing. And again, which part of the tracing with your eyes is the easiest? If you were to pick one quadrant, meaning 3 numbers together, and you were just to focus on that quadrant, go ahead and pick one that you think is the easiest to go between. Is it going to be your right hand and your feet and your left hand and the top of your head, or the top of your head and your right hand? So just pick one of those quadrants and sweep your eyes back and forth. And then go to the opposite quadrant. So if the one that you had picked was the top of your head to your left hand, now you're going to go from your right hand to the soles of your feet, sweeping with your eyes. And then just go back to making a full circle, feeling that space all around you, from the tips of your fingers, the soles of your feet, and the top of your head. And then begin to spiral that circle so that each time you make it, you imagine it bigger and bigger. So it's beginning to grow into the room around you. It's reaching out towards the walls, out, extended from either hand, the walls above your head and below your feet. Just grow your attention into the space of the whole room. And don't worry if you're not symmetrically centered in the middle of the room. Just imagine. Imagine it growing into the room. If you're doing this lesson at home, imagine it growing into your house or your property. Just extending your attention all the way out of yourself. And then reverse the circle, reverse your extension of attention in that circle around yourself, and begin to spiral it back in smaller and smaller circles until eventually you spiral it back to your fingertips, top of your head and the soles of your feet. And then keep spiraling it smaller and smaller. It may not end up initially in your cranium. It may end up somewhere in the center of you, maybe in your chest, between your arms, or lower in your abdomen and your pelvis. But take it till it's back within the confines of your body. And then rest. Let your arms down. Roll your head a little bit left and right. Bend your knees up if that's comfortable for you. And now let's change the direction of the dial. So we'll go back inside your cranium, and we'll still have the 12 at the top of your head and the 6 down between your throat and your chin. But this time, let's have the 3 o'clock at your nose and the 9 o'clock at the back of your head. So the clock face is dissecting your right and left side. It's going down through the center of your head, the right and left side. So visually, the first quarter would be from on the inside of your skull, from 12 to 3 would be the top of your head to right behind your nose. So see if you can find that inside yourself, inside your head. 12 to 3, top of the head to the nose, back and forth. 3 to 6 is behind the nose and down to the sort of that chin throat area. And then 6 to 9, from the chin to the back of the head. And 9 to 12. And then just begin making the circles visually, tracing the inside of your cranium, round and round. And feeling it into the little teeny muscles up in your neck and your head. If you were to let your head follow this movement just a little bit, what are the motions your head would make? It's very different than the other circle we made. An interesting little circle. And then reverse the direction. And then just pause for a moment. So let's extend that circle out into the whole of your body. So again, 12 is still at the top of your head, but now 6 is going to be at the soles of your feet. If you're able to lengthen your legs, do so. If not, it can still be at the soles of your feet with your knees bent. But this time, 3 o'clock is going to be somewhere out in front of you, maybe about an arm's length, but in the center in front of you. And 9 o'clock will be behind you. So you can imagine where that is in front of you. Is 3 o'clock going to be out from your sternum, or is it going to be out from your belly button? Where do you imagine that center point to be? Same with 9 o'clock. And begin tracing it. Let's just start with 12 to 3, top of the head to somewhere, maybe an arm's length or so out in front of you. Sweeping that space of that upper quadrant, upper and forward. And then 3 to 6, from that point out in front of you down to the soles of your feet, right through the center of you. Several times. Back and forth. And then 6 to 9, taking your attention from the soles of your feet down into the floor, into the earth beneath the floor, that point below you. And then 9 back to 12. Breathing, jaw relaxed, and just begin circling that sphere around you. And you can notice as the sphere is bigger, does it, in your imagination or with your eyes, does it feel, or do you imagine it exactly in the center? Does it bisect your body perfectly right and left, or does it waffle a little to the left or a little to the right? Maybe on the top half it goes a little left, maybe it creates a diagonal, bottom half goes a little left. See if you can appreciate those possible differences. Or it might be enough just to attend to making that imaginary circle outside of yourself. If you haven't yet, reverse directions. Feel if there's a subtle movement. Let your neck be soft. Let your head follow. Little teeny movements. And just grow that circle out into the room. So eventually, with your intention, you're imagining and taking your eyes out to the ceiling, again to the wall above your head and the wall below your feet, and then into an imaginary point down into the floor. And reverse that. And slowly, gradually make that circle smaller and smaller, bringing it more and more to the center of you. And then when you're ready, just rest. Again, in this lesson, resting might be rolling onto your side for a moment, rolling your head a little bit left and right. You might wiggle one leg, rolling it a little right and left, wiggle the other leg, rolling it in and out. You might just enjoy feeling yourself breathing, sensing the space in your cranium, the space around your body, the space around you in this room. All right, let's bring our attention back into our heads. Kind of a heady lesson. And this time we're going to make our circles in the horizontal plane, so that your ears are still going to be 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, but this time your nose is going to be 12 o'clock and the back of your head is going to be 6 o'clock. So we're actually bisecting the top half and the lower half of your head. So if your nose is 12 o'clock, begin scanning to the left towards your ear, so it'll be across the inside of your cheek over to your ear, back and forth, 12 to 3. And then back from 3 to the back of your head a few times. From the back of your head over to 9 o'clock where your right ear is. And then 9 to 12. And when you're ready, just begin sweeping your eyes around the inside of your cranium, around this dial. The nose to the ear, to the back of the head, to the other ear, to the nose. Softly moving the eyes, moving the imagination. Let the neck relax and see if there's just a subtle movement that your head wants to make, to follow. You don't make your head move, but anytime we move the eyes, it activates certain neck muscles to follow. So see if you can just feel that subtle invitation for your head to go along. And then reverse directions, round and round. And then pause for a moment. And see if you can take this whole clock dial and just drop it down into your shoulder region, so that now 3 and 9 are at the tips, the outer tips of each of your shoulders, and 12 o'clock is near your sternum, your breastbone, and 6 o'clock is in your thoracic spine, between your shoulder blades. And see if you can trace the circle inside your upper chest in this area, from your sternum to your left shoulder, to the middle back, to the right shoulder. And reverse the direction. And just rest your attention somewhere in the middle, between each of the shoulders and between the sternum and the backbone. And then drop it down again to where your diaphragm is. Your breathing diaphragm rests at your lowest ribs. So you might just want to place your hands around your lowest ribs, just above your waist where there are no ribs, and imagine the circle going around there. So it goes around the ribs to a point just above your low back curve, around the side, and a point just where it actually gets a little soft in the center of where we imagine our belly to be. And see if you can trace it around the inside of yourself that way, bisecting the top half of your body with the bottom half of your body. You might even feel your diaphragm contracting as it draws the breath in and relaxing simultaneously while you're tracing the circle, reversing directions, if you haven't already. And then pause with your attention somewhere, imagining that it's right in the middle of that diaphragm, feeling it drawing down as it draws the air into your lungs, releasing. And then let's drop this one more down into the pelvis region, so that 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock are, well, let's start with 12 o'clock being forward just above your pubic bone. And you might want to just place your hand there so you know where that is, the pubic bone. That'll be 12 o'clock. So 6 o'clock will be back down around your tailbone, maybe a little bit of your sacrum, that bone that rests on the floor there. And then 3 and 9 o'clock will be on the lower part of your pelvis, kind of near your hips. Just see if you can imagine that space, that circle down in your pelvis, the pelvic floor. And reverse the direction of the circle. And then just pause for a moment and imagine where you think the dividing line is between the top half of your body and the lower half of your body. Is it your belly button? Is it above your belly button? Is it below your belly button? Just imagine where that point is, and then begin to imagine the circle going outside of your body. So it goes maybe an arm's length above you, to the right side, below you, to the left side. And again, as we did before, just grow that circle out into the space around you, out into the room, to the walls on the right and left side, to the ceiling above you, deep into the earth below you. When you're ready, reverse that circle far out into the room, into the earth, making it smaller and smaller till it comes back within the center of your body. And when you've done that, just rest for a minute again, rolling your head a little bit, left and right. If your arms are at your sides, you might roll them one at a time, in and out. Roll each of your legs in and out. Take your head in little circles. And then bring your attention again into the center of your cranium. And attend to the very first circle that we started with. Top of the head, each of the ears, down between the throat and the chin. Feel that circle, the inside of the cranium, going round and round, making it smaller and smaller into the center of your head. And then do the next one. Top of the head, back of the nose, chin, throat, back of the head, going up, forward, down, back. First is tracing the inside of your cranium and making it smaller and smaller to the center. And then the last circle from the nose to the ear, to the back of the head, to the other ear, tracing the inside of that part of your cranium, spiraling that circle smaller and smaller to the center. And this time, as you come to that center and you have an awareness that there's that center and it can extend in all those directions to fill your cranium. Imagine breathing into the center of your skull and imagine that breath expanding three-dimensionally, filling all aspects, up, down, right, left, forward and back in your skull as you breathe out. Breathing into the center, out, filling your head. What's it like to take your attention in all directions at once? Letting go of the specifics, just letting it expand. And then let's explore the circles around your body. So the first circle was top of the head, arm's length to the right, bottom of the feet, arm's length to the left. You can put your arms out to your sides if that's easier. So your circle touches the top of your head, the tip of your fingers, soles of your feet, the tip of your other fingers, round and round. And you can make that circle smaller and smaller until you find it just resting, just settling softly somewhere inside of you. And then there's the other one, the one that dissects your right side from your left side. So it's the top of your head, somewhere out in front of you towards the ceiling, the bottom of your feet, somewhere behind you, tracing that circle around the perimeter of your body, your kinespheric space, and then making that circle smaller and smaller visually with your imagination until it just rests somewhere inside of you. And then the last one, bisecting the top half of you and the bottom half of you. So it goes out to the right and left sides, about an arm's length in front of you towards the ceiling and an arm's length behind you. Retracing that circle around and around, and again, slowly working your way back into the center of you. And let's let that center of you be just below your belly button, your true center of gravity. Physiologically, anatomically. Most traditions that refer to energy centers have this as your power center. So as you breathe in, let your belly expand, but breathe into this center. And as you breathe out, imagine that you're breathing out to every aspect of this kinespheric space that we've created. An arm's length in front of you and behind you, to your side, to the top of your head, to the soles of your feet, as if you're in some kind of a three-dimensional bubble. You draw the air in and you bring it into your center, just below your belly button and inside that pelvic region. And you breathe out and you imagine this breath just filling this bubble that you're living in. And then just keep making the bubble a little bigger with each exhalation. Breathing into your center, breathing out a little wider, a little more expansive into the room. For some of you, you may just go a few inches or feet beyond your physical space. And others of you, you might begin to breathe out to the walls, to the ceiling, into the earth. You might be able to breathe out into the property where this building or your home is. You might have the capacity to imagine breathing out into the whole city. And with practice, you can use this breath to breathe into the whole planet. So bring your exhalation to a comfortable distance outside of yourself, not the whole city or maybe not even the whole room, but just that kinespheric space of which you can reach your arms and your legs into. Breathing into your center, out to the kinespheric space. And stay with that intention while you slowly roll to your sides and sit up. Can you move into sitting and stay with this breathing pattern, stay with this sense of your bubble? And once you're in sitting, just begin to look around your bubble, look around the room. See if your awareness of the space in front of you and back of you, to your sides, up, above you and below you, has begun to change. And take your time. When you're ready, stay with the background of this breath, of this breathing into your bubble, breathing into the room, and take your time coming up to standing. And once in standing, begin to reach with your arms and your legs, exploring the space around you. Take yourself into movement around the room. Keep coming back to the breath, your center. And just see how you take this kinesthetic bubble with you for the rest of the week. Thank you.